The majority and minority in Parliament were divided over whether the Electoral Commission chairperson, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, satisfactorily answered questions for which she was summoned to Parliament on Wednesday. It emerged at the sitting that the EC's budget failed to account for some 2.5 million Ghana cedis the Commission raised from the replacement of voter ID cards. The MP whose question triggered her summoning, Eugene Boache Entry, tells Joy News that the responses were just inadequate.
I'm not satisfied. We are talking about a statutory body charged with the conduct of our elections. And the answers she gave today were unsatisfactory. Because we are submitting a budget estimate to the Parliament of Ghana, who has an oversight responsibility for government incomes, expenditures, and revenues. And you fail to capture a very important segment, which is internally generated funds. Whereas in that same year, you've collected from Ghanaian citizens, parliamentary and presidential candidates, as well as others, right? And all these things were not captured in the budget estimate, and we've got it approved. So that's why I posed the rhetorical question to her, that now that her budget has been approved, and the Ministry of Finance is going to release funds to her outfit, how is she going to rectify that anomaly? It's a matter of great importance to our country.
So that for you, well, you don't buy the suggestion that it was an oversight. So then what happened? Someone probably wanted to, make money out of the process.
I think it was the latter part of a submission. She said that this is her personal explanation. Do you buy that? She's the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana. She cannot have a personal explanation. The buck stops with her.
So you think the division in codes within the commission is what has resulted in this claimed oversight when it comes to the issue of
palpably manifested today, that all is not well with our EC. You even saw the seating arrangement at the very beginning of proceedings, where members were urging the two of them to sit together. So all is not well with the Ghana EC.
But the MP for Tamale Central, Inusah Fuseini, disagrees.
Madam Charlotte Osei did extremely well in view of the present developments at the Electoral Commission and the circumstances surrounding her appointment and continuous stay in office, especially the petition presented to the Chief Justice by the President of the country. She did extremely well. She was virtually in control of what she was saying.
The minority says even the fact that she indicated there was an oversight in terms of the IGF is an indication that all is not well with the commission.
The majority?
The minority. Yes, the majority. I mean, that's what they are saying.
Well, I have addressed that already. I basically think that Charlotte Osei was being the Electoral Commissioner. Indeed, she didn't come here as Charlotte Osei. She came as Electoral Commissioner. The Electoral Commissioner was being fair and candid to the best of her knowledge. Today, we are all riding on the question and giving it credibility without failing to verify its authenticity and veracity. But meanwhile, we are holding Madam, the Electoral Commissioner, accountable for saying that she speaks for herself. I believe that she was under immense pressure. She continues to soak the pressure until such a time that she snapped. Speaking for myself answer was the lowest point in the answers.
But now the leadership is meeting her as part of efforts to resolve the internal wrangling there. What do you make of it in the light of the petition that has been forwarded to the president demanding her removal?
Well, I think that I have said it and I will say it again here. I think that it is not the work of leadership. I think it should be the work of the General Peace Council or Ghana Peace Council. That if they had taken the initiative long ago when the smoldering fire at the Electoral Commission was beginning to show, they would have been able to prevent a full-flame conflagration, or a burst of fire.
Mrs. Charlotte Osei subsequently met the leadership of Parliament to discuss internal wranglings at the Commission, despite an objection by the minority. Haruna Idrisu, who is a minority leader, insisted a petition to Parliament to remove Mrs. Charlotte Osei makes it unnecessary for Parliament to attempt mediating the subject. Majority Chief Whip Amayao Chreme says there's nothing wrong with the meeting.
The meeting has been fixed and we are going for the meeting.
The fact that the President this afternoon referred the issue to the Chief Justice, isn't that a game changer for all others to withdraw your hand from it?
If we meet as leaders and we think that anything that we do will be prejudicial to the process that has been kick-started by the petitioners and by the President, we shall recuse ourselves.
But for now, you are going ahead with it.
We are going.
Despite the
It's
minority
a meeting, so we are going. It's very unfortunate for the chairperson of the commission to have told us that by failing to indicate IGF, the monies that the commission raised by itself in terms of replacement of ID cards and the accreditation fees that the commission took from journalists is an oversight because it did not appear in their budget. How can you fail to recognize the fact that about 3 million Ghana cedis did not appear and you say it's an oversight?
Meanwhile, the Institute for Democratic Governance and Civic Forum Initiative say they support calls for the 3 top officials embroiled in the current spat at the Electoral Commission to step aside and allow for full investigations into the matter. IDEC and the CFI, in a statement released on Wednesday, are proposing the appointment of an interim chair to create a more conducive environment for the Commission to do its work normally. And here are excerpts of the statement jointly signed by the CFI chairman and IDEC's executive director, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete. And if you look at the statement, it says the Institute for Democratic Governance and the Civic Forum Initiative observe with great concern the leadership conflict that has engulfed the commission and attracted the attention of the public and the media. Within the brief span of 1 month, the Deputy Chair responsible for corporate services has been suspended upon recommendation of IOCO, and the petition has also been filed calling on the President to initiate impeachment proceedings against the Chair of the Electoral Commission. And lately, the Chair and her 2 deputies have traded accusations of corruption, impropriety and incompetence. And the second point, it says this internal situation at the Electoral Commission, a highly regarded electoral management body in Africa, threatens, according to the statement, to create institutional paralysis and also cause international reputational damage with dire consequences. The near-crisis situation needs to be dealt with expeditiously to sustain the EC's capacity to perform its statutory functions. And within the next 24 months, as the third point indicates, the EC is expected to conduct the following. The National Democratic Congresses of the National Delegates Congresses of various political parties, presidential and parliamentary primaries, district level elections, and possibly hold a referendum on constitutional amendment, which will lead to the creation of new regions and also introduce multi-party elections in the districts. So, additionally, it may have to redemarcate constituency boundaries while undertaking all the necessary tasks for conducting the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections successfully. And the last point, as a statement from IDEC and the CFI point out, the EC requires a unified leadership and internal harmony to perform these functions effectively and also professionally. And the risk of failure is high with the current impasse, and as a result could trigger wider political and constitutional crisis, especially if the EC were unable to adhere strictly to the implementation of the electoral calendar. And obviously, the statement concludes, the issues underpinning the unfolding crisis are a complex one and therefore would require carefully thought through and appropriate interventions to address them holistically. And trust us will bring you a lot more on this subject when we have various discussions on this program this morning, but let's continue. In other news, the University Teachers Association of Ghana has warned it will go on strike if government does not resolve the current impasse at the University of Education, Winneba. Winneba High Court recently ordered the Vice Chancellor and the Chief Finance Officer of the university to step aside pending a case against the university. And the president of UTAG, Dr. Harry Agbanu, tells Joy News that failure of the authorities at the UEW to reach an amicable resolution will result in a nationwide strike 2 weeks from now. He spoke to Gifty Apia on the Pulse.
Council, soon after it was reconstituted, had an emergency meeting. Unfortunately, the meeting ended in chaos because of the behavior of the council chairman, who happened to be a former pro-VC of the university and who walked out of the university because of some differences with the current VC, who is being asked to step aside. Yes. And so it is unfortunate that government did not take any notice of this and decided rather to put that individual there as a council chairman. We have known all along that a different person was to be the council chairman, but for some reason unknown to us, there was a sudden change at the last minute to have that individual there as the council chairman. Indeed, at that meeting, he walked out the representative on council, Dr. Ofori Bekoin, which unfortunately was, it was unfortunate that he could do that.
So it appears that there has not been an amicable solution to the issues.
There is not. There is not at all.
But you, in your statement, you're vowing that you're going to resist this fiercely. What are you going to do? What are the...
No, I just want to let you know that I am the president of UTAG. I don't make decisions for my association. Okay. But what I'm gleaning from our campuses is that our members are willing to withdraw nationwide their services to the university so that the politicians will go to the classroom to teach and to have their way. That is what I'm gleaning. And when it comes to that, we'll not blink our eyes to be able to implement that decision.
The Court of Appeal has dismissed a motion filed by suspended lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu seeking to suspend his 3-year ban by the General Legal Counsel pending the determination of an appeal challenging the suspension. The GLC in June this year suspended Mr. Sosu after it found him guilty of overcharging a client and also violating the Legal Professions Code of Conduct that prevents lawyers from advertising their services. He subsequently filed an appeal describing his suspension as a substantial miscarriage of justice. Delivering his ruling, Justice Henry Anthony Kofi said the jurisdiction of the court had not been triggered appropriately. Joy News' Joseph Akable has more on the story.
So it was the hope of the suspended lawyer that the Court of Appeal will put his suspension on hold. His lawyers at the previous hearing had argued that allowing the suspension to hold whilst he argues against that decision in court will be grossly unfair. He said the legal practitioner who had been suspended was one who survived by practicing that profession, for which reason, since he was challenging that decision suspending him, it was only appropriate that the court puts that suspension on hold. This was opposed by lawyers for the General Legal Counsel, who had insisted that the jurisdiction of the court had not been triggered appropriately. They had argued that the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Counsel was not a court in the sense of a high court for whose decision would be challenged at the Court of Appeal. They insisted that since the disciplinary committee was under the General Legal Counsel, any such appeal must first go to the General Legal Counsel itself before coming over to the Court of Appeal. Delivering that ruling in this matter, Justice Kofi has said that they had failed to trigger the jurisdiction of the court appropriately, for which reason he dismissed that application that was made. For lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu, the suspended lawyer, he is clear in his mind that this is not the last of the matter and eventually he will have his way.
I mean, it's the decision of the court, and for now, we would abide by that decision. And then I'm seeing my lawyers, and then we can take the next appropriate steps. But absolutely, I am confident that at the end of the day, I mean, justice will be done. You know, it is often said that the wheels of justice grind slowly, but surely, you know, you would get there. I have no doubt whatsoever what God will do at the end of the day. I believe that at the end of the day, this whole story will be written in gold, and I have no doubt about that.
So the action initiated by the suspended lawyer here at the Court of Appeal, which is located at the premise of the Supreme Court, has failed. What remains to be seen is where next the suspended lawyer will be taking his fight against the General Legal Counsel to. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Joseph Akable from the Court of Appeal.
And before we go, let's put the story to you. Can you imagine a structure allocated for a library facility now serving as a storeroom and an eating place? And that's the reality of Achinakro Municipal Assembly Primary School in the Inusah Fuseini municipality of the Ashanti region. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
Good quality education, according to the Sustainable Development Goals, must hinge on literacy and numeracy. Unfortunately, the situation is the opposite in many rural schools in the country.
The animals in the forest, the animals have a big palace. When the gong bitter beats the gong, some of them do not hear. Because of this, they met 3 times before they finish carving the drum.
Many children either read badly or cannot read at all because schools lack basic infrastructure and materials for effective teaching and learning. To address this challenge, facilities like libraries are critical. Here at Achinakro MA Primary School, however, what is supposed to be the library has become a kitchen.
This you see here is not a typical dry line outside a compound. This is in a supposed designated library structure for the Achinaman MA Primary School. Because of lack of materials available to them, it has been used for other purposes other than what it was meant for.
This particular building is intended for library. It can serve a double purpose of a library and a reading place. But because furniture is not there, we are not able to use it. We have rather turned it into a storeroom and then a dining place for staff.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very bad because the facility is there. Other communities don't have it. We have it, and it is not functioning because of lack of some basic facilities like furniture and computers.
Now, even in the States, we realize that most of the books are tattered, torn apart. Why so?
It is because for a very long time we have not replenished our stock. We don't have stocks coming in from GES or anywhere else. It is only recently that USAID has given us about 206 fresh books. That is what we are using now. But we cannot use them even in the library. We use them in the classroom because the sitting arrangements are not there.
Sometimes 3 students have to share a book during reading hours which take place in the classroom. Class 3 teacher Christopher Ejayemchi is disturbed the situation impacts negatively on teaching and learning.
When they go there, they don't get any book. We don't have enough books. The books there are not sufficient for us to read. Yeah, it affects them most because when they come to school, they just sit around without reading anything.
The school struggles in ICT education as almost all 300 pupils share 2 computers. Mr. Carter is worried.
Facilities to make it very effective are not there. So we are appealing that when we receive help, ICT will be promoted better than it is now.
So while some cry for a structure for a library, others have it but they are using it for something else. Infrastructure deficit in basic schools remains a challenge that calls for attention from government and stakeholders. Prince Apia reporting.
And that'll be it for the latest news we have. We have the newspapers in the studio. I was just taking a look at some of them, and we'll apprise you of the latest headlines on those front and back pages very soon. And then we'll look at the various online portals. We'll do all that up next, but please get interactive. On Facebook, we're streaming there live. We have a page. Go search for it. Join News on TV. We also have a Twitter handle at Join News on TV, and we have a channel on YouTube where we also stream. And please go look for My Joy Online TV. It's on YouTube.